Huge big story over the weekend, front pages of many of the papers, even still today, was what's going on at his Sentebale charity, a charity set up in southern Africa, basically in memory of his mother Diana. And it's been a really important charity. It's done some great work for kids, particularly kids suffering from AIDS and HIV, and in a country where it's, certainly in Lesotho, in South Africa, everything, Botswana, absolutely rife, and people often basically spurned advice from society if they do get AIDS or HIV. Now, we have this ridiculous scenario where we've had a massive falling out between Prince Harry and the board of trustees, and he's a patron of the charity, obviously, and the woman running the charity. Huge, big falling out. And we kind of heard Prince Harry's version of events last week that actually, they'd no longer had trust in the charity boss, the chief executive. They asked her to go, and she won't go. She'd actually even gone to the courts here to try and stop from going. She did an interview with Sky yesterday. This is Dr. Sophie Chandauka. I mean, she's a British trained lawyer, but she runs the charity, used to work for the charity many years ago as well, after it was set up early on. And she's accused the Prince and other members of the board of harassment and bullying at scale, of unleashing the whole Sussex, the Duke of Sussex PR machine against her, and saying that actually, some of the things that Prince Harry has done when it comes to things like arranging these, absurd big sort of charity polo matches, wanting to bring along his Netflix film crew, meant that they lost a venue. It cost them lots more money. Meghan had been unhappy that she got bad publicity after she appeared to ask the charity boss, basically, can you move away? I want to stand next to Harry when he's got the trophy from this polo match. And that she refused to put out a statement saying, no, Meghan didn't do anything of the sort, no problem here. And she refused to do that, and she's being punished for it. There's allegations of sexism, racism, bullying, harassment. What do you make of it?
Do you know what? Sophie Chandauka deserves a medal because she's done something that I never thought would be possible, which is to get me to sympathise with Prince Harry. I never thought it would happen. This woman has gone because, there's been an attempt to get rid of her because the entire rest of the board, who are all the old royal people, these aren't Harry's new mates, these are the old mates, have said, look, you've gone off, you've spent hundreds of thousands of pounds, you've raised nothing, it's all bad, we've lost faith in you.
She said, well, you can't raise any money because Harry's kind of a bit toxic.
Harry has raised the vast chunk of the money that this charity has raised over the years. It's the one good thing that he was still doing. This woman has come in, seems to have blown it all up and gone on the tour of the televisions, calling everyone every name under the sun.
It's fascinating. Well, let's talk to royal commentator Rafe Hadel-Manku, who joins us right now to talk about this. A very good morning to you, Rafe.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. This is a sort of he said, she said, ostensibly, although she was on telly yesterday saying, she's got copies of text messages from other members of the trustees and people who work there, basically saying they're horrified by the way he was speaking to her in these meetings, these Zoom meetings, and she felt it's totally sort of overblown. I find the racism allegations quite bizarre. It's sort of, you set up a charity in Africa. I don't know, is it a colonial thing? We certainly know that she is someone, she's spoken about how they've had to move the charity, a lot of the running of the charity away from London and away to Africa, post Black Lives Matter and the like. So I think she probably comes from a certain sensibility where a lot of these allegations get thrown up. But whose side fundamentally are you on? The Sussexes, on Harry's side, or her side?
I think it's too early for anyone to actually make any definitive statement as to who they're aligning with.
That won't stop people.
Because I know. Well, many of our viewers, I'm sure, many people in general, will be feeling something akin to Schadenfreude that the Sussexes, whether the allegations are true or false, they're getting a bit of a taste of their own medicine, having put the royal family into pretty much the same position with their baseless accusations of bullying and racism.
And that's one of the issues, isn't it? Whenever I see people saying someone's being accused of bullying or racism or any of these things, I'm always like, what did they actually say? What did they actually give me something specific? Otherwise, I don't take this stuff serious anymore because these words are just used, someone looked at you the wrong way. Oh, well, it must have been this or that. That said, some of the specifics she did talk about in this interview on Sky yesterday about things like, they've got this big charity polo match, which basically is a shindig for all the rich and famous. Meghan decides to turn up at the last minute with Serena Williams, the celebrity, all things that, you know, get out of kilter. I'm not sure why that would be a problem for the charity personally. But they're having to move the venue because fundamentally the people who were originally doing it wouldn't do it on anything other than commercial terms. If Harry brought along his Netflix film crew, but Harry wouldn't refuse to renege on that. So there is an element where you think, well, was he putting his Netflix career and his income from Netflix above the needs of the charity, or did he think it would help? There does seem to have been a big sort of clash of, I suppose, you know, what the charity was for.
That's right. I mean, essentially, there's that. There's the fact that, of course, attending board meetings, he would suddenly put forward things that went on the agenda. He parachuted in a new board member, which his proxy and another person voted for without consulting the board, and it was taken as a fait accompli. You have all that sort of stuff. Also, the allegations essentially that Prince Harry has wanted her out for months, and essentially was turning sponsors against her in order to undermine her attempts at fundraising. Therefore, of course, if she can't raise the money, more impetus for her to leave. It has to be said, you know, this is not a person that would normally you'd expect to be a thin-skinned snowflake, right? She's a very serious woman. She's a doctor, was a high-flying corporate lawyer working for Morgan Stanley, you know, in a very senior role, biotech entrepreneur, also a very senior role for Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram.
Well, he may have picked on the wrong person then, because she wasn't going to take it from him. But there was a lot of talk about how the way the charity was run was kind of, you know, that may have been fine when you were a royal in 2006, but it doesn't really fly now. These things to be done properly. And he's just doing it on the, well, it's my mate and I'm the royal and I get to do what I want and no one says no to me, is my guess.
This is the crux of the issue, I think. I think this is the old guard versus the new guard. What we're talking about is Prince Harry's resigned. It must be said, Prince Caesar of Lesotho, who founded it with him, he's resigned, and the Board of Trustees. But they're very much the old boys network. The Board of Trustees is very much Prince Harry's set. And contrast that with those who haven't resigned. The executive committee who actually runs Sentebale and the 500 employees. And you've got this high-flying woman coming in who does things on an international global scale, is not tied to all the traditions of the the monarchy. And she wants to take it into a new direction, expanding it beyond Lesotho and Botswana, saying, look, HIV and AIDS are no longer death sentences. There are other issues we can also focus on. And I think very much it was that dynamism coming in, shaking things up, that has caused this schism.
That said, reading some of the things that she said, one of the things that she was very keen on was, you know, as you say, tackling other issues rather than just climate change things, but I mean, so rather than HIV and AIDS and children, but the impact of climate change and various other and equality and wealth and equality. She was kind of going down a very woke, and she was talking about Black Lives Matters, a very woke path, which an awful lot of charities do, because of course, oh, it's climate change, you can get more money for that, you get more money if it's Black Lives Matters linked and things like that. She was going down a very woke path, which I would argue would take away from the work they're doing to actually help actual children actually living with HIV and AIDS.
But I would also say that I'm surprised that this doesn't go right in, you know, squarely at the centre of what the Sussexes are all about, you know. Health, wealth and climate change. These are all issues close to them. And what I found most interesting, of course, is that she has accused, and this is a bit difficult to believe, the Sussexes of harassment, bullying, misogyny, and misogynoir. Now, misogynoir was a new term to me, and it means misogyny against black women. Now, that's precisely the sort of term you would have expected Meghan to have come up with in her own time.
I bet she's gutted she didn't have that for the Oprah interview. Absolutely gutted. I have to say, misogynoir, I mean, my worry was going to be some rather strange sort of sexual predilection, because these things often are. Who do you think is going to win this one in the end?
Well, the Charity Commission is now looking into this. Look, this woman is a high-flying lawyer. She knows the law. She knows finance. If she felt that she could launch a lawsuit against the charity, she must have some firm ground on which she's standing. So the jury remains open on this.
Absolutely fascinating. Really good to talk to you, Rafe Hadel-Manku, royal commentator.